over and over, AI algorithms are getting better at understanding humans and human psychology and their likes and dislikes much better than the humans themselves.
We have some influencers now who have like full channels running off in video AI.
We're using AI to clean up your voice, sound, like you've recorded in a professional setup.
It is going to be intelligent in its own way. It's not going to be intelligent like humans are.
Hi everyone, good evening and great to be here. I am rightly suited for a tech discussion in an audio event because we are ours.com, but it's actually the parent company, which is Agrahyah, which is a tech company which has interest in content, and I was really excited to be moderating this. And I have a good mix of panelists here. They're amazing people who have play in both tech and audio. So we couldn't have asked for a better panelist here. So right next to me is Jayanath. He's got multiple patents in tech and now a AI enthusiast, and he's part of Convergence Capitalist. So he will be best suited to answer a lot of questions in this aspect. We have Guru from Adobe Enterprise Tech, and we don't have to tell what kind of boundaries Adobe is pushing in terms of using AI to make creators' life easy. We have Anshul from InVideo, again, a very smart but also super affordable AI platform for creators, changing their lives, making their life easy, helping them monetize in more ways. And we have Deepti, who handles all the numbers that Ethin was presenting about how great HT Smartcast is. So she's the person who kind of handles all that content there. Yeah, so we have people who have a good mix of creator tools, enterprise tools, being part of enterprise and now startup. So thank you so much and welcome you again.
Thanks.
Yeah, so my questions are going to be fairly simple, right? So we all know that AI helps creators in multiple ways, but how is it going to impact audience? So I'm more curious in these lines of questions, right? So let's say, Jayant, I'll start with you. Let's say now, a YouTube or a Netflix or Spotify, they're all highly personalized, right? Based on my YouTube is different from yours and so on. So if there is more and more tech-driven recommendations, what hopes do we have for creators to be found and discovered? And with, why I'm bringing this up is, let's say more AI tools help open up more creators. So there's going to be more new content, but how are they ever going to get discovered? So what does this mean?
Discovery is one problem which hasn't been yet solved, right? And when it comes to AI, in this context, in the context of content creation and podcasting specifically, AI needs to be looked at in two ways, right? I mean, there's like we say in the industry, there's AI 1.0 or conventional AI and AI 2.0, which is generative AI, right? In the context of content creation and podcasting, both these generations of AI have different offerings and benefits. The conventional AI is great at analyzing trend analysis, pattern recognition, and connecting the dots and predictions, right? And generative AI, is good at narration and storytelling. So when it comes to, podcasting and content creation, the first one, right, needs to be used for better targeting, better audience engagement. And, we are already seeing that. I mean, most of the YouTube, Spotify, like you mentioned, YouTube algorithms anyway use that. And like you mentioned, they're creating audience bubbles. How do we get out of the echo chamber? At the end of the day, under all these AI algos which are giving you recommendations, it's essentially psych hacking, right? I mean, Chamath Palihapitiya talked about it in Stanford, 5-6 years back. And, yes, I do get the same content that I watch probably once or twice, and the algorithms thinks that I'm interested in that. But at the same time, we all know that the algorithm also, offers you or recommends you adjacent content that you yourself wouldn't know that you were interested in. And, over and over, AI algorithms are getting better at understanding humans and human psychology and their likes and dislikes much better than the humans themselves, okay? And that's how, we are going to expand the audience. The way I look at it, AI is going to create it's going to segment the audience much more than the few segments that we normally have and marketers do, but create a lot of depth, okay, and thereby create a lot of value and monetization opportunities.
Thank you, Jayant. Anshul, you help creators create content in maybe what would take a week now, maybe in 2 hours using your platform. So tell us a story if you have ever heard from one of your customers or creators that they couldn't tell the difference between a synthetic content and a human shot content as this happened, and how did the audience react? Could you tell us anything about it?
Yeah. So NVIDIA AI helps you create content from a prompt, like a fully narrated YouTube video, that kind of stuff. We have some influencers now who have like full channels running off NVIDIA AI, and they have like tens of thousands of followers. So this is starting to get a lot more prevalent, and the kind of voices, the kind of stories, the kind of scripts the current AI is able to generate, these are phenomenal and often indistinguishable from real humans.
So, Deepti, do you have synthetically generated content on Smartcast, or are you planning to use it? And yes or no? First part of the question.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so now tell me, have you seen any particular trends in people listening to them more, same or less than a natural content or organic content?
So I have a very interesting story to that. I'm a storyteller, podcaster. I have an interesting story to that. So when the pandemic hit, that's when we had started HT Smartcast. And a lot of our daily podcasts needed voices. And at that point of time, we just couldn't get people to record from their, own homes. So for our daily news wraps, we used AI. And initially, it was such a weird thing to do. This was back in 2019, 2020. It was such a weird thing to do. We were like, no one's going to listen to these. Okay, we are doing this to please our bosses, and that's about it. No one's going to listen to these. But the thing is that those two podcasts hit millions of listens. So that's something that gave us this learning, that informative pieces, things that are just used for, just information, quick updates. AI is good for all of that. When it comes to emotional pieces, when it comes to personal stories, when it comes to experiential learning, that's where we need to use real human voices and not AI voices as such. And of course, we get a lot of flack. Obviously, the AI voice is so bad, don't do this, all of that. But then, as compared to one person who said that on an email for us, there are about, lakhs of people listening to the podcast every month. And there's another thing that I realized. So I grew up with dyslexia and ADHD. And so reading, writing was very, very difficult for me. And my parents and my grandparents, they used to read out all the lessons to me for me to absorb everything. So for me, that also clicked. It made sense for me to continue to do these kind of voices. It made sense for our team to also continue to do, the daily updates in an AI voice. Of course, we are a team of just 10 odd people. we can't source too many voices for them.
Right. Thank you, Deepti. So, Guru, that brings me to you. I mean, there isn't a creator in this planet where Adobe, is not involved in their life. So, thank you for that. So, how are you bridging this gap between a synthetic content sounding less synthetic and more human, and helping creators from that point of view? Like, what are the steps, companies like Adobe is taking so that content looks more natural?
Sure. Thanks for the question. So the motto for Adobe is, changing the world through digital experiences. And if you hear our Chief Product Officer, Scott Belsky, speak, and I like the way he puts it, is that, with AI, especially Gen AI coming in, it has lowered the floor for a lot of people in order to help them create content a lot more easily. And it has raised the bar or the roof for creative professionals who've already been doing it for so long. Our endeavor is to empower the creators with more tools, make GenAI ubiquitous amongst our applications. We are already doing that with Photoshop. Later this year, you'll hear about the stuff we're doing with video and audio in Premiere Pro and stuff as well. For podcasters, since we are at a podcasting event, I should shamelessly plug Adobe Podcast. It's one of our researchers, an intern actually, who worked on this project, and it's gained, a lot of praise worldwide. Do check it out yourself. If you're new, there were some people, I heard in the earlier panel, there were some of you who are about to start a podcast or want to start a podcast, but are worried about the expenses that are incurred with the microphones and the setup. Check out Adobe Podcast. We're using AI to clean up your voice, make you sound not as good as some professional sounds voiceover artists here, but at least you'll sound like you've recorded in a professional setup. And
he got this year's performance appraisal on stage, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Guru. Just kidding, but yes, we Jain, that brings me to a follow up on the same thing, right? So many tools, so many awesome tools out there that helps creators. How is it all going to help them monetize better, distribute better, accrue more audience, keep the audience, retention? All these hard problems starts the minute after the creation problem is solved.
So, we all know SEO, right? For the last 20 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In the space of content, with AI, something called as a CE or content optimization, right? Is going to be the next cottage industry for the foreseeable future. Okay, there are going to be a lot of companies. I mean, we've seen Spotify. That's one of the first and the biggest tools. But I would imagine a lot of companies and agencies coming up and offering that. That is at the 10,000 feet level. I am working with a company in Bangalore. I mean, every podcaster and content creator knows once they start growing big, the audience engagement, replying to the comments, for their episodes are that much more important. Literally, podcasting is a full-time job. I mean, me and Leslie are lucky to get away with just doing it 1 hour a week. But it is a full-time job if you really want your millions of subscribers. So as this one grows, how do you keep engaged with the audience? There's this Bangalore-based company which came up with a GenAI, platform that actually, uses GenAI LLMs and the Truth GPT to get the right content and personally customized responses to each of the comments for, thereby increasing the engagement.
Right.
That is happening today on the ground, right? So there are going to be a lot of tools that are going to be coming in. Monetization, think of it as, monetization is going to be beyond pure content. Think of what's happening, what streaming has done to the musicians, right? I mean, yes, they use Spotify, they use Apple Music, they use Amazon Music. Their content goes out there, but they actually, make their money by merchandising, live concerts, and all of that. So in a way, podcasting is going to, put your face out there. It's going to be a marketing tool. But as your audience grows, there are going to be multiple other monetization, opportunities. That's what I mean by depth, right? So it's going to create a very, depth, engaged audience that are willing to, spend more. And that's where the, monetization is going to come in from.
Thank you so much. So one of the threats to monetization are clones and deepfakes, right? So Anshul, coming to you, right? As a technocrat, as a tech person, what do you see are the threats of a deepfake to creators and to audience to some extent?
Yeah, deepfakes are definitely scary, right? This is going to be a thing in the coming years. It's out there. It's going to happen. On the other hand, it also represents a big opportunity, right? Like tools like ours and others can enable you to sort of deepfake yourself, create your own digital twin, and that digital twin can go do work for you when you are busy or can speed up your workflows immensely, right? So this is going to be a thing. I strongly believe that licensing your likeness, creating your own likeness, using that likeness in powerful ways is going to be a big part of how podcasters and creators work in the future.
Yeah, Guru, please.
So one of the initiatives that Adobe has taken with regards to this is this was not an initiative started now, but remember NFTs?
Yeah.
So this was the same concern people had during NFTs as well. And so Adobe started this initiative called the Content Authenticity Initiative. It's free. It's an open source project. We've got more than 1,000 plus members. So think of it like a nutrition label, right? You don't buy a product unless you see the nutrition label on it. So imagine if you could have a nutrition label on all generated content. And if there was a way for you to verify. So if you want to, as a consumer, you want to verify, is this video, is this image, is this generated or is this real? You could just drag and drop at the Content Authenticity Initiative site, and it'll give you the entire, if you will, kundali, if you will, of the entire project. Which application was used to create it, which model was used to create it, who created it, date, time, all of that.
So great. So technically all this is great. Jayant, I'll just come to you, but I want a little more non-techy and a human answer. So I'm going to go to Deepti. Please wear your storyteller hat.
You
For
guys are not human, guys.
So Deepti, imagine, let's take etc. or any podcast from Smartcast, right? So let's say I'm able to clone a Devina's voice, a Leslie Demon's voice, all of your top journalist voice. That is fine. But will it ever be close to having them speaking? Because just because I can use their voice doesn't mean I can say what they say or how they feel or how they would emote or how they would ask questions to their guest. So what do you think? Do you really think, other than maybe some pranks and miscreants using popular voices to, push out a WhatsApp and stuff like that, do you really think this is a big problem for creators? Will it erode their IP?
See, I think, so basically AI can never really replace human relationships. We are very quick to anthropomorphize AI. We are very quick to give it a human sort of an image, but it really isn't. Even if we do achieve general artificial intelligence, or whatever the new names are these days, apparently, even then it is going to be intelligent in its own way. It's not going to be intelligent like humans are. At this point of time, my producer, co-head of podcasting at this point of time, Vaidya, she's standing right across. And she came towards me and she was like, lower down your leg, change your leg. Apparently, that is something that a podcast, that is something that an AI will never do. It'll never tell me, it'll never care for me, right? So these kind of relationships, and podcasting in itself is such an intimate medium, right? When I speak to my audience, taking it back to what Naina said, people have parasocial relationships with, personalities these days. So a parasocial relationship is only possible if it's human.
Thank you so much. And thank you for caring about your colleague as well. So Jayant, you wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, I wanted to add one point to what Guru said about that verified. In fact, back in October last year, that was one of my, as a part of my strategic advisory for the Gen AI implementation to one of the biggest media houses in the country, that, they should actually go ahead and own the hashtag verified for all Gen AI content, this one, and take it to market, something equivalent to an ISI mark, right? I mean, that's, going forward, it's going to be the thing. And that hashtag verified could be the Gen AI strategy for that media house, and they can actually take it to the next level. So I completely agree with what he said. And to extend to what Deepti said, Chris was, this big I think CIA negotiator or Navy SEALs negotiator, right? I mean, he teaches negotiation skills. He says that, every message communication is 7% the words used, 38% the voice tonality and the modularity, and 55% the body language.
Right.
And that's why, when we were all locked down, Zoom just zoomed up. I mean, all of us wanted to have in-person meetings, but the next best thing was Zoom. So And also, taking another philosophical angle to it, I mean, it is said that humans use less than 10% of their, of their brain. So what we have in terms of AI is actually automating a fraction of that 10% that we know of. The mainstreamization of AI, what it is doing is it's actually forcing and driving the humans to dig through the other 90%, the other 95% of, what we have in our subconscious, right? And those will come out, and there will be a difference, in terms of the human-generated content, and there will be, audience to it going forward, because AI is going to create a huge noise-to-signal ratio. And once that signal in the form of human content comes out, there's going to be a huge value attached to it.
Thank you so much. In interest of time, I'm just going to take a few seconds to summarize this. There is no Q&A, audience Q&A to catch up to the agenda of the day. So all of us guys are accessible off the stage as well. So we started off by discussing, what will happen to our recommendations. So I think Jayan started by saying, at scale, a algorithm is better suited to throw in more new content to suggest that you might like it and help us discover than do harm in that sense. Some of the other points I really enjoyed in this was, beside Guru's appraisal, is how many tools Adobe has to help creators, whether it is about, knowing an entire provenance of a content creation or the Adobe's tools for podcasters and so on. And we heard Anshul talk about, some of the techiest side of things, geekiest side of things from that. And one thing I really loved is, AI can create a person's voice, AI can write a story in few minutes, but podcasters know that it's a relationship they have with their listeners. There are a lot of nuances involved, a lot of emotions involved. If fake, people can easily tell that it's a fake emotion and so on and so forth. So my summary and takeaway from this is very, very simple. Use all the tools, don't shy away from it. All those tools are here to help. It's like saying, I won't use a JCB or earth mover. I'm going to use my arm to dig and build a home. I mean, don't do that, right? So we have to use every tool available for us. We use a car, we use a AC, we use a bulldozer. Same way, as a creators, we need to use every tool in our arsenal to create the best content. But of course, there are a lot of human elements, which is, deeply human. It could be emotions, or it could be having that community engagement with your audience, or that relationship you have with fellow podcaster, or if it's two people bantering, that can't be done. So keep that in mind. And while at it, don't be worried about fake or deep fake and clones. Like I said, they are all threat at a very large level, but as an individual creator, that's really not gonna hurt you. Or unless your voice has been cloned, then I'm sure, like how Scarlett Johansson took it up with OpenAI to bring the dangerously similar looking sound. So I'm sure you have other angles to it, but none of that should keep you from being a great podcaster. So I enjoyed my time here. Thank you, fellow panelists.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.